I'm very disappointed that we have a council that wants to reconsider the promise that they made to the voters. I would like to offer ordinance number 67-2013 for its first reading by title only.
An ordinance amending sections 18103A, 18104, and 18106A of the codified ordinances of the City of Macedonia, Ohio, in order to extend the city's current income tax rate of 2.25% through December 31st, 2016 for police capital purchases within the city limits and city capital improvements, and submitting the same to the electors on November 5th, 2013.
Scott, if you could just please give a little bit of a description so people know what this actually says.
This is just to, the thought is 2014, as the current legislation is on, the 0.25% that was enacted 3 years ago by most members of this council will roll off. And that will be a decrease of $1.3 million as predicted by our Regional Income Tax Association. We spent last year alone $1.6 million in capital improvements in the city. None of the increase of the money that we received on this 0.25% has been used for wages. It's strictly been dedicated because there's so many areas of the city that needs improvements, from roads to replacements to trucks, vehicles, machinery, leaf blowers that's been neglected in the last 3 years because of the hard economic turn. It was, I think it's prudent for the city and the administration to at least allow the voters of the city to pass that, decide for themselves what type of city that they want in the future. So I agreed with the mayor to go forth and put this legislation on for council to decide.
The most important thing is that this is no cost to the residents of Macedonia. Is that correct?
It would be 100% tax credit.
We right now do not have 100% reciprocity. So some of the taxpayers in the city are paying 0.25%.
Right.
That will not happen. There will be no cost to the Macedonia residents. We will not get the full amount. We will get a good portion of it. Can you give me the rough amount?
By giving the residents 100% credit of the 2.25, Rita predicts about $120,000 would be less. But our economy's been growing. We have, even without the increase, income tax collections hasn't been up. But in 2008, we collected $6.9 million. And in 2009, when the economy tanked and you had major businesses, Graco, Ben Benuli, we collected $5.8 million, and again, 5.8 in 2010. So in 2011, when this was enacted, Rita predicted we were going to collect about $750,000 to $800,000. We did better than that for the growth of the economy, and we collected 6.6. So the bottom line is, the $1.3 million that we'll be losing with reduced revenue will have to come cut from the capital line items, which basically is almost 90% of our capital. Council's been prudent. They put $500,000 away in a rainy day fund. They also established $500,000 in retirement fund. And that money might have to be tapped into again. There's variances down the road. We did South Bedford this year. We thought we were going to get a grant, and things come up. To me, I think it's a quality of life issue for the city as far as its residents. The only thing that distinguishes Macedonia from Hudson or Twinsburg or East Cleveland is the ability of the residents of how much they want to spend for their services. It's just like if you live in a condo association, they say you need an assessment on a road, you pay it. Sometimes you don't have a will, sometimes you don't. I look at the city as that if you're protecting your investment, you want good roads. If I lived on South Bedford Road, I'd be extremely upset. At least we're addressing that situation this year because we're going to spend $300,000 when it's all said and done. So I think it's an important decision, no respect to this council or any council, But a situation like this that, really should have resident direct input, in my opinion.
Mr. Deere,
Yes.
I have a question. I misunderstood what Mr. Martin was offering at the time. I thought he was going to offer this for its first, second, and third reading at this time, and I voted no because I was against this ordinance. And so, what happens now? I didn't realize that he was, Mr. Martin, I misunderstood what you were doing. So what do we do now?
I made the same mistake. Can I move to,
Yeah.
can I move
She
to-
didn't read the ordinance, so can we go back?
There was a procedural flaw here, I believe, Mr. Deaver. And there was a misunderstanding among members of council because they did not hear the ordinance.
But she wouldn't read it until we say yes or no to it. Correct?
But we had not stated that.
Well, you said no, so she didn't read it.
The motion was to suspend the rules,
All right.
and I was going for in the middle of the roll call, and it,
So what do we do? Cause I thought he was just gonna offer it for first, second, and third reading at that time, so that's why I said no. And I didn't know you guys, I
and
lost me.
that's what he did.
Yeah, and
He was
lost
suspending,
me.
going for suspension of rules.
Well, the people who voted and were the majority are now saying they want to reconsider, and I think those people can ask for reconsideration, can't they? So we should bring it back.
I wanted to keep it at one reading because there are a couple things in here that weren't in the last one. There's $200,000 going towards the police department that they want to use for personnel and capital. I talked to Chief Black today and he told me that he needs a tower for your radio system now. It's gonna be $1 million. Those are some of the things that were built on there, so I thought it was reasonable to discuss it over the period of the next meeting or two. Just because we vote to give it one reading doesn't mean we're for it or against it. We're going to discuss it.
No, first of all, council received no prior information on this ordinance. It was just thrown in front of us without any discussion at all. Number two, if we are to provide fire, which by the way, just had a levy renewed, if we are to provide fire and also police with additional funding, it's my opinion that we should do it separately and dedicate that money just as we did for the fire levy, where when the levy was passed, that money goes strictly to the fire department. If we want to dedicate money to the police department, I think what we should do is we should then propose a levy solely for the police department and have that money to go solely to the police department. This is a broad net, and I tell you what disappoints me more than anything else is twofold. Number one, we made a promise to the voters, and we told them, pass this because this is a crisis situation. They responded, but only by 33 votes. Number two, what bothers me further is that I was told by our finance director at the time that he had properly forecast, and that once this levy fell off, that we would have more than enough money. I'm being told that we have $4 to $5 million now. But what bothers me too is that I believe there wasn't proper forecasting that took
No,
place.
let me clarify what I told you.
No, I remember what you said. I'm not gonna
No.
argue. I think
No,
council
sir.
should bring this up.
No, sir.
Let's have some more.
Mr. Deemer, can we reconsider this ordinance?
Well, according to Robert's Rules of Order, those who were on the no side of the vote, if they wish to reconsider the motion for suspension of the rules, one of the 3 no votes needs to make that motion, and another no vote needs to second it. So if you do, then you can revote the motion for suspension. So that would be Nick or Rita or Mike abstain. So if you make a motion to reconsider the vote on the suspension, there will be a vote on that reconsideration. If the majority vote yes on that motion, the motion for suspension of the rules can then be voted on again.
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider.
I said,
Ordinance.
so now our vote has to be.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Roll
okay.
call.
Okay, Mayor, just let
Roll
me hear.
call on the motion.
And this is going back to the suspension, back to square
Correct.
one. Okay.
And then how are we supposed to?
So a vote yes means that you are going to go back and revote the suspension of the rules.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna do a roll call.
vote no, then you're saying you want the vote to stand.
No.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar?
Yes.
Now, someone need to make a motion to suspend the three reading rule.
Make a motion to suspend the three reading rule.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Mr. Martin, you were the second, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Roll call.
No, no, it's all good.
I think
You got it?
Yeah, Mr. Barker, you were the only no, is that correct?
Sounds like it.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So now we have the suspension, no, now we go for adoption,
There's a
correct?
motion to suspension and a second, now roll call.
Okay, Mr. Barker, you already, you said, okay. Ms. Darrow,
Yes.
Mr. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Molnar.
Yes.
Okay, needed 5 votes to suspend the rules. 5 votes have been cast, so the rules are suspended. Now council can move to adopt.
I would like to offer ordinance number 60-2013 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
67, Mr. Martin.
And now you're just going
I
for
would like to
adoption.
offer ordinance number 67-2013 to be passed and posted according to law.
Well, we have to vote.
No, she didn't read it yet.
I've read it already. You want me to read it again?
No, you don't need to read it
Yeah.
again. It's
Okay.
motion to suspend, it's motion to adopt, and now you need a second.
I know you.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Barker,
No.
Ms. Darrow,
Yes. Wait.
Mr. Engel,
When this was passed 3 or 4 years ago, it was passed after the citizens had voted down 2 times to increase the real estate tax. Council then came with this proposal. The first 2 proposals were from the administration. I was council president at that time, really didn't want to raise taxes, but I felt that we were in a financial crisis, not of our own making, but the making of the greater economy. I had to go to public meetings at the rec center and tell citizens that they needed to do this. I told the citizens that it was my solemn oath. Mr. Miller was with me. He was the only other council member that had the guts to go. We stood up there and we said, we promise. I keep my promises. For the last 3 years, every time we do a budget, I look to the finance director, I say, you know the game plan. The game plan is that we're gonna have enough money to get through until 16, when some of the debt comes off, and we should be able to continue on a steady course. Your reassurances have always been, you can do it, and we still can do it. So I vote yes.
Let me go back.
Yeah, I don't.
The motion was to adopt this ordinance. If there was a
Yeah.
vote
No.
We're supposed to all vote no.
Oh,
If
so
anybody
no.
votes, if the majority vote yes, it's gonna go on the ballot.
Oh, I'm voting no. I apologize.
So let's scratch the roll call and start all over. Are there any questions on this vote?
No, okay.
If you vote yes, it will go on the ballot. If you vote no, the ordinance will be defeated.
All right.
So just-
may I start again?
Thank you, Ms.
Please.
Weaver.
That was wonderful.
Mr. Barker,
No.
Ms. Darrow,
No.
Mr. Engel,
No.
Mr. Martin,
No.
Mr. Miller,
We promised swimming pool and basketball courts and all kinds of other things too. Hell no.
and Mr. Molnar.
No.
Ordinance is defeated.
Moving on, resolution number 68, 2013.
I draw for resolution 68,